Next, though, we're heading to St Helens, kind of virtual reality-wise, because I'm joined by Owen Hutchings from St Helens Libraries, who's here to talk us through recommendations for the summer months, really, Owen.
Yes, hello, Helen. Good to be here. I've got my legs out. I don't know if you. It's not. That doesn't
Leave
work
them
really
out.
very well on radio, does it? But yeah, I nipped across the town. I live in Liverpool, but I've popped in. Yes, so we're doing. St Helens. St Helens is we've got loads of stuff happening at the moment. The thing that I'm most excited about is we have a programme called Cultural Hubs, and Cultural Hubs is St Helens is Arts Council funded programme of work which sees us animating all of our different libraries in St Helens with a load of different performances, events, activities.
Give us what people would think. You know, in my day, the library was you went in, you got a book, you shut up, you sat down, got on with your work, and then you left.
Well, I don't think that St Helens Libraries... certainly libraries aren't like that anymore, and definitely not in St Helens. We have a number of different initiatives where we are really trying to make sure that our libraries come alive with different things. On the 19th of June, we've got a band called Blossoms, who are next up-and-coming band. That's part of the Get It Loud in Libraries activities, and they're actually taking over the library for the whole of the evening on the 19th of June. Now, I do think that typical understanding, that typical thought of a library's being quiet is completely something that we don't recognise anymore in St Helens.
And how do you know that?
Because of all the people that complain when we make when the staff and when we make loads of noise and stuff happens in the space, because we are trying to. I think in this current climate, we've got to do everything that we possibly can to get new people into libraries and to get more people attending activities. And Cultural Hubs is our perfect example of doing that. Over the last year, this is our third programme now that we've just produced. It's called Cultural Hubs. It's our third programme, and we've had a whole number of different performances and events that have happened, and people are flocking in to come and see the stuff that's happening. Some of the stuff happens in an evening, but actually a lot of it happens during the day while there's other stuff going on in the library space. And people kind of accept now, that libraries aren't... there are certain spaces within St Helens Library, like local history, which is one of the rooms, where people can go and study and go and spend a little bit of time if they need to do work. But people know that when they come into St Helens Libraries, they ain't going to get the tip...
And you just mentioned one kind of genre for people to be... invited into the library, as we get many requests here on Radio Merseyside for information to do with local history, so that must be a big winner for that part of the world. Yeah, it is. Yeah, local history is really... St Helens has got a very rich history, a very proud history, industrial history of mining and glass and all of those types of things. So people are really interested, and we have a very active... clientele that come in and use the libraries that are really passionate about local history, but that's just one part of what happens in St Helens. We have every library in St Helens has a read and rhyme time every single week. There's at least one in every single library space, but on top of that, we're doing loads of family friendly things. We've got two very specific family friendly performances coming up between now and August. One is called Static, which is by the wonderful Action Transport Theatre company, very physical theatre type piece of work. And we've also, in August, we've got an artist called Lawrence Speck, and he's performing two shows, one called The Boggle and one called Shapeshifter. So it's around, a lot of what we're trying to do is around Lawrence is a good example. He's a storyteller, and that's what books are all about. That's what libraries are about. It's about telling stories, it's about getting information in a different way. And what Lawrence is going to be doing in August when he brings his two shows, The Boggle and Shapeshifter, into our spaces, is bringing those stories to life in a really unique and really innovative way. And being around in the library environment, Owen, have you got any characters that you could kind of maybe share with us that are regulars, that you think, that's why I do the job I do?
I don't know. I'm probably constrained by some sort of freedom of information stuff here, but there certainly are people that come into the libraries every single day and use them, and there are some stories that if I was to tell now would get me the sack. But there are certain people that come in and absolutely, particularly Central Library, which is the main library in the middle of town. There are people that come in and use that space that you see week in, week out. For whatever reason, they just like to come in, and it's a safe space for people to use the computer, to check out books, to chill out, to read, to come and see stuff that's part of Cultural Hubs.
But I think as well, it's about connection with other people too, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's what libraries really, certainly in St Helens, it's the social side of things. There's a lot of people that come in to our spaces to see their mates, or to see their friends or to socialise. And I think particularly in this day and age where things like depression and mental health issues are really prevalent, libraries I think is a real way to connect with people, and that's a lot of the focus of some of the performances that we've had as part of Cultural Hubs have been very much focusing on that, looking at how we can engage with people with perhaps mental health issues or depression or whatever, and actually tell their stories. We had a wonderful performance about this time last year by a guy called the Vacuum Cleaner, who performed a story called he performed a piece called Mental, which was basically his story of his decline. That's not quite the right word, but his journey into and out of psychosis and what happened, and his real sort of and it was an amazing piece of work, and it was such a great way for us in libraries to get that information across to people in a different way that isn't necessarily just about looking at books and stuff. So it's about opening up libraries to being used in different and innovative ways.
What are the highlights have you got?
This season, on the 26th of June, we've got a wonderful performance poet called J.B. Barrington, who won the Greater Manchester Fringe Spoken Word competition last year, and he's an absolutely fabulous performer. That's on the 26th of June, like I said. The other really exciting thing that we've got coming up and being delivered by a company called Redoc is something called St Helens versus the Lizards. And what that is going to be do you know escape rooms that they've opened up in Liverpool? Exit Strategies one, where you get trapped in a room and you have to solve clues and go a little bit like...
Yeah, I'd still be there now.
The Cryptum Factor or Challenge Annika. Well, we're going to be making one in St Helens. It's going to be called St Helens versus the Lizards. It's all aimed at... we'll be working with teenagers for them to help us create the room for the stories that they want to tell. So St Helens versus the Lizards is going to be happening in August, and it's basically going to be St Helens' very first escape room. And we're going to build it in the middle of Central Library, and people are going to be able to book on and try to escape from the lizards before we get taken over by the lizard invasion.
And folk listening now who are not from St Helens, if they hopped on the train, thought, right, I'm going to have a day out, I'll swing by and have a nose, all are welcome?
Well, as long as their passports are valid, they're definitely allowed into St Helens. Of course they are. The Cultural Hubs is about bringing our libraries alive in St Helens. But it's not in any way, shape or form exclusively for... And in fact, a lot of the people that have been coming to our events have come from Liverpool or from Manchester or from further afield. So what we're sort of showing is that there's a niche... I think one of the big things is that people might be afraid to go into the theatre, or they might be afraid to go to galleries, but people aren't afraid to go into the library. I think there's like a social issue around the theatre that unless you've been exposed to it when you've been younger, you don't really want to go into the theatre. And what our Cultural Hubs programme is doing in particular is getting rid of that. It's bringing theatre to places where you wouldn't expect to see it, but in comfortable and safe environments for people. It's no. Yeah. I just know that from experience from going with people to the theatre, that you do get scared the first time. It's for someone like myself or for any artist or for any group who've been to the theatre or been to go and see things all their life, it isn't scary. You don't get scared.
And I think that first big toe in the water type thing, if you don't understand what's going on, you have to pretend you do. Oh, lovely performance, and you think, ooh, I've lost the plot here.
Because there's a perceived etiquette about what you should do in a gallery, for example, or how you should behave in a theatre. And what we are trying to do in St Helens is completely kibosh that, completely get rid of it, take away some of those barriers for people that don't that are maybe afraid to step through those doors. And of course, most people, I think, might be afraid to go into a theatre for whatever reason. But most people in their lives have been in a library and kind of know that the staff are generally
and they don't go anymore, do they?
No, some of them do, but we don't like to advertise those ones. Yeah.
Well, Paul, to take some travel, hold that thought. We'll talk more about what's on for St Helens and especially the hubs over in St Helens libraries. Owen, we were just talking while we were listening to Bruce Springsteen that you are a cyclist and you have that choice of great venues between, living in Liverpool and being based in St Helens for the day job.
You're not going to make me choose now, are you?
Well, it's kind of, how does that work for you for What's On's and deciding what to do?
Well, of course, I suppose I should be political here and say that, of course, there's so much going on in St Helens that I don't ever come to see much stuff in Liverpool. But that's not true, because I think that living in Liverpool and working in St Helens, we've got such a wealth of stuff that's happening. Not just the theatres and the gallery spaces, but there's so much going on. I tend to come and see stuff in Liverpool. I came and me and my wife went and had a look at some of the stuff as part of Light Night last week, which I think is always great. Loads of stuff going on, loads of performances and just stuff happening, which I think is amazing. And what I get really passionate about is actually stuff that happens in unusual spaces, stuff that isn't just happening in the Royal or in the Playhouse or in the Everman, as great as those spaces are. But I love seeing a piece of theatre or an exhibition in a space, in a box room, somewhere where you don't expect it to happen. I suppose that's why I'm so passionate about art stuff happening in libraries, really.
And recommendations then for the summer. Obviously, we've got a lot of Saturdays to get through for people maybe on a budget or people that have got friends and family visiting. What types of things do you get up to generally?
Well, I think that in terms of recommendations, I'm really excited about the very big catwalk that's going to be happening on the 4th of July, which is going to be the world record attempt to try and get the biggest catwalk, and that's going to be down at the Pier Head, isn't it? And I think that's all three, and I think that's going to be a wonderful. I'm in a theatre company actually called Coastal Productions, and we're working on a piece called The Ragged Trousered Philanthropist. And I was trying to persuade the rest of the gang as part of that to dress up as painters and decorators, which is what the book's all about. But some of them are new to performing, and they weren't exactly up for dressing up and going on a catwalk. But if anyone else is, they can always email into the show if they want to take part as a bit of the painter and decorator. We could always en masse apply to have a go at that. So I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, the Three Graces turning up on Monday is going to be absolutely fantastic. I live in the city centre, and I'm trying to persuade one of our concierges to let us up in the roof because we're right on the front, so we'll be able to see the boats coming in, and that would make for a lovely sight, I think, on Monday when they all arrive in. So I think the thing about Liverpool is that there's so much going on. It's almost like there's not a weekend that goes past without something happening in the city, and I think that's just amazing. And I remember when I first moved up to Liverpool in 2000, you wouldn't have had any of these sorts of things, and it's just great to have witnessed the transformation over the last 15 years.
And do you tend to do it when you've got friends visiting? Because I'm always the way where I never get out to much places, but then when I know people are arriving, like, let's head out to Chester, let's do a day in St Helens, let's go to Southport and see these places that we just really take for granted.
Yeah, and it's funny actually, my brother and they've just got engaged actually, so I might say congratulations. And they've got an engagement party next week, and we're going to be away. So I'll tell them that Carl and Katie,
present,
congratulations.
Big present on the way.
Yeah, well, don't tell them that. Congratulations to my brother and Katie who got engaged. But they came up in February, and Katie's not been to Liverpool very very much actually, and she absolutely loved the Crosby Men, another place in Crosby, and you kind of take those things for granted when you live up here, but there's nothing like that. I'm from Kent originally, but there's nothing like that down there in quite the same way. And so I just think that there's so much to go and do that we take for granted. My mum came up last year. Hello, Mum. My mum came up last year and for the Giants, and stayed with us, and we went out and obviously saw the Giants several times, which was wonderful. And then of course there's lots of little other places that you don't necessarily know about if you come up, but that you can take people to.
And the tourist information is a great place to start in Queen Square, isn't it? And online as well. So for heading back to St Helens, before I let you go, what would be a couple of, just to end on, highlights that you think, if you're going to come across to St Helens, especially to come and see us in the libraries, what would be the highlight for you?
In the libraries, well, I've got to say JB Barrington I think is going to be fantastic on the 26th of June. But also, aside from the libraries, the Heart of Glass is our other big project that's being run by the rugby club at the moment, and they've got this wonderful project called Your Name Here, which is basically going to see a park in St Helens be renamed forever after somebody that has...
Yeah, no, Steve Coleman's name keeps getting mentioned. He was here on Brekkie. He was saying, vote Steve.
Vote Steve. Well, we should get some T-shirts printed. My sneaky outside bet might be your friend of mine, Gary Conley.
Gary Conley gets around, doesn't he? He's the guy behind the Dream sculpture, isn't he?
Well, he's not behind the Dream. He's one of the. He's always talking about it, but he's not behind it. But he was one of the miners that had a lot to do with the sculpture, and so Gary's name. I think Frank Cottrell Boyce was suggested that he would be one of a good recommendation, a good name to put forward to have a park named. Now we're not sure about it because Gary's head's big enough, as you know, Helen. Gary's
the size of the head, yes.
Yeah, well, no, I mean Gary's, his. Anyway, so having a park named after him, sharing an office with him would become an absolute nightmare.
How can people find out more information about that project?
Well, actually, funnily enough, we've got a workshop next Saturday in St Helens Central Library, 10 o'clock till 12:30 in the morning for families, and 1:30 till 3:30 in the afternoon, and that is a little bit more information, and that's in Central Library. Anybody can come along, and that will be helping people give some thought about who they might want to recommend to potentially have the park named after them.
Fantastic.
And that's next Saturday. But if you go to www.winyournamehere.co.uk, you can also put forward suggestions online there as well. So
fantastic. And a final major email or website address to find out about so much activity for the cultural hubs. Owen, what would you suggest is the website?
Yeah, the best place. Well, two things. If you're in St Helens, pop into any of the cultural venues, that's the Citadel or the World of Glass, or any library, and pick up a bright yellow copy of the Cultural Hubs brochure. We're also going to stick some on the reception here. But if you wanted to go and have a look at the brochure online, you can download it at www.issue, that's issw.com/cultural hubs. We'll give you that information as well, so you can put it. I know you can give it to the volunteers here, can't you? And
we'll give it to the A-team to forward on to each and every one of you. And if you are a resident of St Helens, if you're passing, do
not just
support,
if you're a resident, anybody,
but do support the Liverpool links, obviously, with Up for Arts too. With St Helens, we often support great arts and crafts events linked to the cultural hubs based in St Helens Libraries. Owen Hutchings, a pleasure to see you,
and a pleasure to see you.
And happy cycling.
Thank you.
Back to St Helens, or just staying here?
I'm just going to go along the front today, go and test my new bike that I've just got. So yes.
Owen Hutchings, my thanks for joining us today on Summer Saturday. Thank you.
See you later.